strangely. Okay. All right. So, dropping this midstream. Thanks, Matt. Perfect. Oh, yeah, cheers, James. Thank you for coming by. Let's jump into Clint Smith, M. Clef Audio. All right. Rio Buck says Comic Sans. And I'll be honest, that was my impression as well. My immediate impression is that this site could be a lot better. That's my immediate impression. I think you could probably do well to hire a designer and get it up to a sick standard. Because this looks kind of a bit cobbled right now. But we will go through in detail. Excuse me. So there are a lot of, I mean, people that have been here before know that I personally, and Matt as well, we're very details-oriented individuals. So I see things like, for example, this image's background is not black. So that's like kind of a small thing. And we were mentioning before that, like, that's just a small, just one example, right? But those kind of examples make people wonder exactly how deep a perhaps lack of attention to detail goes. You know? So we've got, we'll start from the top here. Let's start from the top. So this goes to the home page, same place we already are, right? I assume. Yes, okay. So these guys here, so Comic Sans is a bold-ass choice for a font. First off, it's a font that is wildly hated. Also, when these highlight, the text doesn't highlight with it, doesn't pop up, which is kind of strange. Games, artists, dialogue, music. Off the top of my head, I don't know where this links to. We're gonna find out, I guess. But games, artists, dialogue, and music. I assume music goes to your music. Dialogue, I don't know immediately where it's gonna go to. Dialogue you've done, I guess. Artists, I have no idea what this links to. And games, I don't know, maybe credits or something. But perhaps those could be worded better so they're more obvious as far as where you're taking me. So sound design and audio engineering, game audio, film audio, mixing and mastering. Great. Hello and welcome to M. Clef Audio, home of Sound Dezinger. Oh no, man. Sound Dezinger. Get that fixed. Clint Smith. The site is a portfolio showcase. Below you will find a demo reel. At the top are buttons to pages within the site to full projects. Be sure to look at the Contact Us button below. Here you can inquire about your project needs. Thanks for stopping in. So this is kind of in a similar vein to what I was saying, excuse me, about Hammer Records page, is when you have text, there should be a very obvious reason for that text to be there. And it's kind of like an Edgar Allan Poe thing, right? I mean, Poe is a big proponent of, if you're writing anything at all, there should be a damn good reason for any word to be there. And if you can't justify a word being there, it probably doesn't need to be, right? So if we have something like, "Hey, Mark Kilborn, what's up? Good to see you." So something like this, like "Hello and welcome," fine. Like sound design and audio engineering, and then you kind of say like a sub what you say, like this. I don't know. I mean, like game audio, film audio, mixing, mastering. Yeah, sure. Like these are okay, I guess. This is fine. Like home of sound designer Clint Smith. Again, people might not care until they have reason to. This kind of stuff is better to have on
Bathe in Fire.
Bathe in Fire, Nerdsworth Academy. Welcome on in. Hey, Just the Librarian too. What's up? Good to see you, Jesse. So there's no about page as far as I can tell. Oh, about us. There is. It's down here. Improving musical aspirations. Okay, about us. We are a sole proprietorship created by Clint Smith, a former gig musician with his bachelor's degree in audio engineering. The idea to start a business came while touring and playing as a musician around Austin, Texas. With a passion for music came a great passion for the technical side of how it's all put together. Recording, signal flow, microphone technique, acoustics, and sound design, to name a few. These are all fascinating ideologies that stem from a very common area of a love for sound. As a musician in the live music capital of the world, one is always looking for that niche that separates them from the rest of the market and allows them to shine in the spotlight. With M-Clef Audio, our niche is phenomenal sound. Phenomenal sounding games, recordings, mixes, and mastered audio. Great. Like, you say you're Clint Smith here, so you probably don't need to have it on your homepage too. And the site being a portfolio showcase, that's kind of assumable. Like, yeah, this could be a lot better. It doesn't need to be here at all. Below you'll find a demo reel. Of course you will. Doesn't need to be there. At the top are buttons, the pages of the site. Yes, every page works, like every site in the world works like this. You don't need to have this here. Be sure to look at contact us. They will look at it if they want to. You don't need to have it there. And here you can inquire about your project needs. That's obvious. And thanks. So really, you don't need to have anything except for maybe hello and thanks. Like, that's pretty much all you need, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. This could be all removed. And further to the point that we frequently we say put this front and center, like put this right at the top and don't show anything else until this, because I know you were here before, Clint, when I was talking to James just now. I was saying that if you get like a limited amount of someone's time, you want to spend those like 15 seconds there on your site in the best way you can, right? So if they spend that 15 seconds reading things that are extraneous information, it's not the best use of the time they're giving you. Whereas if you're like, boom, you're here, have a listen to this thing. And once they listen, they're blown away. Then they're like, oh shit, who is this person? And they'll look deeper and get more information out of that, right? But until they want to, this is basically a waste of their time. And therefore a waste of your time too. Okay. So, like about and contact could probably be up here also. Yeah, so Gord's saying, I highly recommend you hire a web designer or use something with a theme like Squarespace or WordPress. Visually, this is just killing me. I'm being as constructive as possible, but I gotta agree. This site is hurting, man. It could be a lot tighter. So we'll have a deeper look as well. I mean, the thing is, the site format, like, you might not think it's as important as the quality of the work yourself, but this is part of the presentation, right? Like the presentation itself is really, really important. If you jump on someone's site and we go to like, oh, I don't know, how about my favorite site on Real Talk ever, freaking ashtonmorris.com, right? Like, this site is so sick by comparison. So just objectively, if you're a hirer and you go to this site and then you go to this site, like, which one looks like they kind of have more experience and have their stuff together and have more to offer? Like, it's not even a question of the content, it's a question of just the first thing you see, right? So, okay, so let's jump into this. So this is also a link I saw. It goes to games, game audio. Like, this doesn't need to be here, because it's up here. It's just extra again. So it just, there's no point to putting the same thing in several places, because I don't think there's that much content on your page that justifies it. Also, Facebook link with the old Facebook branding, like very old Facebook branding. This could be updated also. It looks like this site like hasn't been updated for a long time or something. Is that what's going on? Because, like, if I go here, for example, let me just double check this for a second first. Let's see. let's see. I'll go here. And okay, good. Here we go. So mclef audio, the White Snake mclef audio, free gig bag. New site up. Oh, so what do you used to do then? Okay, so make myself not good at web design. Yeah, that's fine, man. I mean, like, neither am I, right? That's not what I'm good at. But I mean, like this site, we gave Noel Berry, who is a game designer and web designer as well, who is very talented. We're like, here's our loose idea of what we want, and he killed it. Like, we're really, really happy with the site now. Excuse me. But, like, I couldn't do this. I tried putting an image on the contact page the other day, and I failed miserably. Like, I just tried putting an image on the background. I can't even do that. So it's okay if you can't, but there are those that can, and if your goal is to put your best foot forward, then sometimes you just need to ask for that helping hand, right? So, anyways. Okay, let's have a listen to the reel here. It is 109, killer. Demo reel. Note, these are redesigned projects, not the original sound design you may have seen. Okay, that's fine. Although I suspect that this won't be in the video. Well, that'll be yet to be seen, I suppose. Check out sites like Wix or Squarespace. Wix. Don't look at Wix. I hate Wix. You can look at Wix. It's all right. You can use Wix. I just don't like it personally. Clean looks are super easy these days. You have to do much less work. Yeah, templates are much easier to deal with than perhaps hiring somebody if the money's an issue as well. So let's press play and go full screen, and let's jump in. Yeah, go.
Laser gun frenzy.
All right. Yeah, and the thing is, Clint, I'll be 100% honest with you, that was better than I expected. And the thing is, I used your site as something of foreshadowing of what to expect of your reel. You know? I mean, I'm being kind of brutally honest, and I apologize for that, but the fact that I drew conclusions about your reel before watching is probably telling of what someone else might do, like somebody else who's looking to hire a freelancer or a contract gig or whatever, right? So it's probably more important than you might realize. So let's quickly jump through the page before returning to the reel. We'll have a look at that again. But so games, we have game audio project examples. Okay. Whoa, did you design the whole thing? You madman? Oh, you're insane. Okay, cool, but you're insane. That's so long for redesign. It's Blizzard. Okay, Zom kills a Unity tutorial. That's fine. If you have them elsewhere, like over here, it might be worth putting something like a bit of information about them. Because the reason you'd have them in their full versions is if people are interested enough from your reel to want to dig deeper and see the full versions. So, for example, right now, I was curious to what level you involved yourself in Unity for this redesign. You know? And because I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure this is like a downloadable Unity tutorial you can put your own sounds in, because I've seen it before. And so I'm curious if this is something like you did yourself, or if you just took captured footage and then put sound on top. So putting context, like Matt's saying, context for videos is really important. Matt says, yeah, I can hear problems, but the reel is still way better than the site. Straight up, yeah. I would also draw conclusions as well. The site's biasing people, straight up. Is there more info in here? Looks like no. Oh man, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so more context here, man. Whatever the site ends up looking like, or this site, just put more information about what this is. Things like if it's your own sound, or if you did like recording to record like guns for these things, or if you did your own procedural fan noise in pure data or something, right? It's really important that you put anything that people might be curious about, or something that stands out in this piece for people to know, because it's not going to hurt you, right? They're already digging deeper, so you can afford to put more information at that point. Okay, artists. Let's see this. Artists. What am I looking at? Top heavy. Tracking guitar in the studio. Is that a band? Top heavy? I don't know what this is. Oh, okay. Is this a featured artist? This is in a different pane. You see that? Like, this is a pane here. And if this is part of this featured artist says things in this pane are featured artists, but things outside seem like they're outside for a reason. If it was no line here, then I would make the conclusion that these are all 3 featured artists. But at first, I didn't know what I was looking at. I'm assuming that's what I'm looking at now, though. So rocking out. Like, okay, I guess. But I mean, if your site is aiming to get you working game audio, then these things aren't helping you. This, like, feature artists, because like I don't know who these people are. Prometheus Tree Band. And it also has no relevance to, well, not no relevance, but it has low relevance. What is this site? Okay. Excuse me. You're going to scratch this page. I think it's probably a good choice. So, Matt says, if anything is questionable by a viewer, you can assume they're going to think whatever you don't want them to think. Yes. Be explicit with everything on your site. Everything. And we'll get back to your reel in a second on that note. So, dialogue. Okay, voiceover dialogue work. Energy drink, radio documentary.
Alcohol, cigarettes, cocaine. What do these 3 poisons have in common? Besides being bad for you, they are addictive, and so are energy drinks. Energy drinks date back as far as 1929. It's true. In the UK, Lucozade energy was used in hospitals for 80.
Ignorance is bliss. Okay, carrying on.
It's time for another 60 Seconds to Fame. I'm your host, Blake Haskins. Austin-formed 3-piece band Manipura has an exploratory demeanor to them, more progressive like rock, with a hint of psychedelic jam focusing more on the lyrical connotation.
Recovery. That was
The band is yet to
very different from the ones we consume today.
Okay.
release a full-length
Kevin, no.
song demo
I'm cutting down, guys. Okay, I'm cutting down. It's like 2 week tops now.
floating around as of February. They slide into a mainstream rock feel here and there, but ultimately
Yeah, this entire thing has actually just been Joey posing as a designer for the purpose of an elaborate energy drinks intervention. Joey actually is Clint in the chat right now. He's 2 people. Okay, so fine. Like, yeah, this is about us in Contact. Like, I don't need to go to your about from every page from here. You might as well just put it up top. Well, I mean, we'll redesign everything, but I mean, have that up top, same as contact us. Contact. What's this page? For all inquiries regarding project prices and turnaround times, please contact them from below. Each project's different. We can work with many budget sizes. Thanks for your time. Cool. Fine. Okay, so back over to our games. Let's... Oh, sorry, not games. Home reel. Let's jump into this reel again. Let's talk about the things we're here to talk about, shall we? So, very first thing is Clint. This is fine that it is a redesign, but you should probably have that on here. And furthermore, I kind of like that this is here all the time, but it could probably be instead that you have a bookend at the front that says like Clint Smith, sound designer, mclefaudio.com, and then fade away, and then go into the game, gameplay footage and such. Because that way, the first thing you see is not our pal from Blizzard here, but rather it's going to be your name, and it's fitting after the fact. Well, here it is. Instead, the first thing should be the name. The second thing should be this clip by itself with no name on there, but rather the title of what the game is, what you did on it. In this case, you redesigned it. And further, when the time tracker's giving your name too, what's up? And then, yeah, leave that up the entire time. Like, leave the title saying, you know, like whatever it is, game title or film title or whatever the thing you did it was, put it there, what you did, and that's it. Just like have that there all the time. And then at the end, have this here again, Clint Smith, sound designer, at this site. Okay.
Meditation complete.
Chapel Juice. Welcome on in. So the very first thing I thought was, oh man, Blizzard again. Cheers, Cheddar. Thanks for hanging out. Blizzard is so just beaten to death by redesigns. And the thing is, Blizzard is some of the best sounding sound in the world as far as games go. And redesigning anything, you're running the risk of being compared, not risk, but you need to be aware that you will likely be compared to the original in some respect. And if you're compared to the original, it's really important that you think you're either as good or better or different. And if you aren't one of those three things, then it's probably not the best choice for redesign. And so doing things like so I often bring this one up in this conversation, but here I'll do it right now again. If you go to like our media page, we have this game called Stormblades we worked on for Kilu, right? And Stormblades is not a super well-known game in the circles we work in. And the trailer is like cinematic. You know, it's like a legit full kind of 3D action kind of thing. And we did music and sound and so forth for it, and that's fine. If you redesigned this, there's a very good chance that the majority of people on your site have not seen this before. Whereas they have probably seen this, or at least have a much higher chance of having seen this. And since they have the higher chance of seeing it, or since they have the higher chance of having seen it, then they will inevitably be comparing in their mind to the original. So the fact that you're getting compared and you are not as good, just that's the fact. Like, frick, I'm not as good. You know, like I wouldn't dare try to redesign this piece. If I did, I'd be working forever and I hate myself. But like, if you do something weird or not as well known, then you will have less of a chance of people making that connection to the previous piece. But if you take this piece and we're like, oh, I want to take like a really silly kind of cartoony vibe to it or something like that, or design it as 8-bit or something kind of really out there as an exercise, then that can be cool, because then you are then incomparable, which is, again, you're hitting one of those three things we're saying: as good, better, or different, right? So all that aside, let's listen. Okay, so that was a lot of the same gun, or a lot of similar gun at least. One thing Matt says immediately to like every single redesign we see is it needs more ambience. And guess what you need? Probably some more ambience. So let me see the chat here for a second here too. Oh, so Shapel just made a very good point regarding the whole Blizzard thing. The fact that you're designing something that is well known means that you're doing something that a lot of other aspiring sound designers do, which is design Blizzard. Like I did it, you know, and I shouldn't have, but I did. And due to that, you're going to be like yet another redesign of this piece. Like we've seen this piece, I think 3 or 4 times on Reel Talk, you know, and we aren't even looking hard across tons of reels. We're looking at the ones that submit, and that's it. So, in terms of mixing things up, yeah. So this is a very common thing you see in redesigns is that the things designed are the things you see right in front of you, like in this part of the screen, definitely. And then sometimes, if you're lucky, over here and over here as well. This has a bit of left and right, like kind of off-screen left and right, but it's mostly just designing what we're seeing. And there's some really blatant points here and there, but in general, the whole piece could use some more ambience and depth, says Mark Kilborn. Mark Kilborn, by the way, is someone worth listening to in the chat. So listen again here. Ambience. Ambience? So Mark Kilborn's the audio director on Call of Duty, by the way. Excuse me. Abyank. So this is like a lot of the same gun, or similar guns, as far as guns occupying similar frequency ranges, and therefore they don't stand apart very much. Let's watch for the whole central focus thing, though, yeah? So, right there, let me turn away, and it's gone. Like, that guy's no longer there, no longer with his shield up. It's just, like, no longer a thing, because he's not on screen anymore, right? So it's pretty important that you think about not only what's on the screen, but further what's happening all around you. So if we have something like this guy that was, like, and bowls over all these robots, like Gord's saying in the chat. Here we go. Bowl up. Whoom. There it goes. They're firing, and then it's just gone again. Even though we see the bullets flying by, we should be hearing those bullets firing at our left-hand side, right? So there's a lot of like really obvious stuff that is definitely happening like outside the camera's view that we should be hearing. Past that, there's kind of like 3 levels to designing, and it goes from like good, great, and like industry standard of awesome. Like these are kind of the 3 levels. So good is like the stuff you see is designed and fine. It's like, yeah, it's like it sounds good, but it could be a lot better. Great is like things you see are designed and things around you are designed that are clear that you see are happening off screen, like these gunfire that is for sure happening off stage left right now. And then when you get into like special, like exceptional work, it's when you're designing things that aren't obvious. So you're kind of injecting your own ideas into this, and you're bringing things to life that maybe don't even need to be there or were never even designed in the first place. Like the storyboarding and the modelers and animators, they did all the things you can see, and they're blocked out very deliberately so that we're seeing only the things that they've paid attention to in a visual way. But since we work in audio and we have panorama, we can put things like over there and over there that you're not seeing on screen. So you can do all kinds of stuff that's kind of more original and doesn't need to be visually backed up, right? So right now, you'd have things like explode off the side. You can have guys that get killed once they're off screen. Like you can just make that happen if you want. And right now, we're getting a lot of what's on the screen only and nothing else. So the obvious stuff, we'll play it one more time here. For the gunfire is like the really obvious one. There's some things missing like in the screen as well, but... Like, what happened to that guy that went down? See that? So here, he got shot down. So he's just flying away forever? Like, he's for sure gonna land. The thing is, you can script that event. Like, we don't know what happened to that flying machine that got shot down, right? Like, it's going down in flames, but what do you think happened? Like, it's up to you. Maybe it pulls up, maybe it like survives somehow, maybe it ejects, maybe it hits some dirt and explodes, maybe you hear like a dull thump later, maybe it like hits some robots they're setting up. It's like you hear like a ronk of metal as it slams into it and scrapes and such. It's really up to you. But when you hear nothing, that's what separates like amateur linear design like this from professional. Professional is putting in all the things you don't see also, okay? Things got pretty harsh right here. I'd be careful of your highs, like your high frequencies. Those are pretty like, it's pretty, a little bit bold. And one other thing too, I'll go play one more time here, and in terms of panning, not just in terms of what's on screen and what's off screen, but in terms of panning is like what you're seeing and where it's happening on screen is pretty important too. You have a bit of panning stuff going on, but it could be tighter. Like this, like that whoosh, when he uses this big sweep, right? We're hearing kind of debris to our left-hand side a bit right here, I guess. But like this didn't go by. We didn't get the kind of left to right movement. It's a bit challenging. The thing is, this is moving as we turn the camera, so it's a bit challenging to like match its position with panning as well. But you can do it, and it would bring the scene to life a lot more, because then what we're seeing is just that much more married to what you're hearing. Professional is knowing all the things you should put in and then skipping them when you're on a deadline and can hide behind the music. Yes, there's some truth to that statement, certainly. So like right here. Yeah, it just stays in the same spot. It's kind of like left-ish and just stays there the entire time, despite the camera moving all around like this, right? That explosion. That explosion sounds like it's kind of in a space, as opposed to in an open environment. There's no like slapback. It's like sort of just fills the space. Sounds like we're in a big chamber of some kind. So the reverb could be a little better. Oh, that's worth saying, actually, Matt. So one thing that's very good in this reel is that there's no music. Or there wasn't in this shot, at least. There might be later on. I think there was in the animation, right? But this is very, very good in terms of showing what you are working on. The thing is, if you did, let's say you want to work at Blizzard, and you have this, you're doing work on a piece like this, you're not going to be the one who is like printing the final piece and sending it to the guys on video, right? That won't be your job. You'll be doing some junior stuff, and you'll have someone looking over your shoulder, either literally or figuratively, and making sure that you're doing everything you need to do. And then they will be that person who's in the senior position who will make the check mark on the final work, right? So the fact that they're doing that means that they will be looking at your work, and your work will sound like this. It'll be the SFX only. So it's very important you do SFX only, and you are doing that, so good for you. This is like massively quiet by comparison, but it's a different kind of game, but still you may consider turning down the previous one or turn this one up just to have more consistency across them.
Frenzy.
It's very short by comparison. That's okay. That's loud.
Laser gun frenzy.
Laser gun frenzy. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about that piece. I'd be more... See, that's why. Because that kind of piece, if you did all that sound yourself in Unity, that's what I'm more interested in. If it's not that great sounding, then that's okay. Like, it's less of a concern to me when you're doing the implementation, because that kind of thing, it's not showing that you have a insanely good aptitude for sound mixing in interactive media, but rather it's showing you have an interest in doing that kind of work at all, and demonstrating a passion, demonstrating a personal initiative of doing that kind of thing is really quite a positive thing to have in your reel. But as we've already seen, there is no context on your other games page, so I am then left wondering what you did on that project, so it's hard to even comment on it. So Mark Kilborn says, little details like the pan position of the energy shield matter. And if you ever think to yourself, man, all these tiny details, seems like a lot of work. Well, the pros do them. Yes, it is a lot of work. I'm sure the mixer on this Blizzard piece did a scary amount of automation on that scene. Yeah, I'm sure he did. It's very common to get a redesigned piece like that and say, cool, you're like 20% done. Like, that's really, really common. And they think they're done. And it's just like, no, man, you got a long way to go. We'll carry on. So this one has music, which I like. I like music a lot, but for a sound design reel, it might not be the best choice to have it in there. It's again quite short. Yeah, exactly. You get excited because you've got a bunch of sound in it, and you lose sight of all the detail, the work that you still need to do. Yeah, totally. So Matt's doing a redesign for fun. Are you? I spent about 30 minutes making a half-second toothpick twirl. Wonderful. Yes, common. And Matt says, oh hell, if you did implementation, then tell us. Yes, please. Clint, you gotta, you're hurting yourself, man, not telling us that kind of thing. That's super important. So this could be sound only, probably. You could have sound only and then like on your other page have it with everything or something. As like, here's the whole piece, but for your sound reel, if this is to be if this is to be interpreted as a sound design reel, then it should be limited to, or rather restricted to, sound design and not music. So one thing that I noticed right away the first time watching this is perspective on your backgrounds doesn't really change. So here's our perspective to this guy's face, right? Press play. And the is the same from shot to shot. Also, that caw is like, sounds like a bird, and this bird is not very birdy. It's kind of like a mechanical bird or something, right? So maybe be a little more weird with that, probably. Rio says truck disappeared fast. Back to the whole thing. Off screen matters, yeah. So keep designing things that are way over there. Just keep filling your panorama out, man. So Matt says cut ambiances to camera changes. So how about here? In this space, have you ever been like in a corridor that opens up into like a stadium, for example? It's not unlike this. And you'd have kind of a narrow...
Praise ham.
Hey, Flare Phoenix. You'd have like a narrow kind of panorama on the sound of the space coming through that opening into the space. And then you get in there, and it's like, woof, it would open up and be all around you, right? So that's the kind of thing you could do with this to, again, just further marry what we're seeing to what we're hearing. Movement's kind of light, not much happening there. There's a little bit, but not much. Grab is like, that's it. So here are these ambience changes. Here we go. If you close your eyes, there's no change, right? So Clint, I'll play it one more time, Clint. One more time. Eyes closed, we're in the same space the entire time. This thing was kind of like, okay. It was just a surreal piece. Kind of whatever. Matt's mentioning, yeah, Kevin, good chance for some ambience is fine in this space. Absolutely. So this last bit, we see little surrealist kind of abstract design bits on reels occasionally, and it's kind of cool to have that because it shows that when you have no direction, what do you do? Because if you give this to 50 different designers, you're going to get wildly different results, like wildly. So it's pretty, it's interesting to see kind of how you approach that. Personally, I feel like it could be tighter to what I'm seeing, but the bit, that kind of thing going on. Like, I don't know if that's linked to something or if it's just playing in the background. With this kind of design, I think it's pretty important to make it really obvious. Like, this is my personal. This is, again, abstract design is like, it's so subjective, right? But if you're talking to me, then it's my personal feeling that if I'm to believe this audio is coming from this, rather than just being like dropped on top, then there should be measures taken to try and like have a very deep marriage of sound and visuals. So Matt's saying it feels loose. So it starts with this kind of like this warp speed kind of thing going on, right? And then the stars kind of fade for a moment, but in audio, there isn't that much change. This big electricity thing happens. It's like a boom. But other than that, it's not really. That thing is like. Like, I don't know what that hype thing is linked to. So, I mean, this is like kind of talking about something entirely different now, mind you, but I think with this kind of thing, how I would approach this, perhaps that's a good way of saying it. So, how I might approach this, and I suspect how Matt might approach it too, actually, and many others here, is I would sit down and I would say, what elements make up this abstract scene? And then, once I've established this, so we have like this kind of sparkly thing off the sides, we've got like this sharp bit. Let's just talk through it actually. So we have this kind of line bit flies out, the outside, the electricity thing flies out, circle coming up, slide around, circles fly in, out, flashes, more flashes, it fades to nothing, and the circle fading away. So we have all these elements, and when you decide these elements are to be designed, you can like kind of assign, get a sonic palette going of sorts, and assign a given type of sound to a given thing happening visually. And right now, it's a lot of the same kind of sounds being heard throughout, but the visual is evolving a lot. So the fact that the visual is evolving, but the sound is not evolving to suit, is, I think, what leads to that loose feel that Matt's talking about. So you could say something like, well, I'm going to start with like some high frequencies, like high frequency sparkle for the star element, and then have it go fade out for a second as we leave the stars, and then bring them in again, but less so because it's not the focus anymore. And then we bring in some like electricity kind of thing, or something that goes with this, whatever you decide that sounds like. And then we have these kind of like pulsations happening as well. So maybe some low stuff happening, really center and distant. It kind of goes and flies around like that. So maybe even have the panning to the right as it drops out. There's a lot you could do here to kind of have these like flashes, the electricity again, that's mostly gone, but now we have a short flash. So have like the electricity, kind of the sound of the electricity effect come back briefly for these flashes, but perhaps a bit colored because it's not the same kind of presentation. The flash, flash, flash. Nothing happens to those flashes in audio right now, I don't think. Let's have a listen. Yeah, so like it's a lot of things happening in audio that like independently the audio sounds kind of cool. Like it's not a bad sounding thing objectively if I close my eyes, but the fact that this is for a visual design means that people are going to be looking at it being like, well, is this really for this, or does it feel like it was kind of made and this is like a cool visual for it or something? Anyways, that's the majority of my feedback. And then of course, back to your presentation for a second, put your information at the end. If it's not in the corner, then go full screen right now for like 2 seconds and then we're done. Okay. So that was a lot of words being thrown in there. Hopefully you got most of them. Hope you got most of those words. All right. So, also Orage Neil. Those typos out of there, man. Typos on typos in this site. Okay, so is this something I should consider not even redoing? You said at first kind of abstract. Abstract, I said as well that abstract's not a bad thing. Abstract can be kind of cool to say, hey, here's me doing audio for audio's sake. And it can demonstrate, as I mentioned, it can demonstrate what you might do if there's no direction given or a little direction given. Because this kind of thing, there's like implied direction. Like it's probably not going to sound light and bouncy, probably, because it's kind of dark and like flashy and spacey. So it probably has like a general direction to go in, but it's not very defined. So knowing what you did in that sense can be really cool. And we've seen like reels where there's like a lot of abstract stuff and it's like really goddamn cool. So it really comes down to, is it good enough to show? Not, is it the thing worth showing? Like, is it kind of thing worth showing? Yeah. Anyways, hey, cheers, Civic Tiger. Thank you as always for hanging out, yo. Of course. So, let's. So yeah, Matt says there could be puzzle weird games. I might like that. Here's one of the things. If I'm viewing your reel, I don't care when you did each thing. Totally. I don't care when you did either. The thing that Matt always says is you don't ship with your reel. So the fact you're saying this was done in school a long time ago, well, it doesn't say that anywhere, nor will anybody care if that's the case. Because all I care about as a potential employer is what your skills are now. So if think about it. If I put in like on Power Up's site, if we put in things that Joey and Jeff and I did in school, like that would make no sense because it's not representative of our current skill sets, right? So we have to update and make sure that our site is hopefully showing the latest and greatest of what we're working on, so that people are getting as accurate as an impression as they can be. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it as far as giving feedback. Mark is saying keep the real work recent, and if you don't have recent work, you're not working hard enough to develop yourself. Boom! That's some real talk right there. Seriously, if you think that your old stuff isn't good enough, then work harder and get your new stuff better. That's just, you got to do it. And if you're not willing to, then I would, and I'm not accusing you of not being willing to, but this is a general statement for anybody in the world. If somebody is not willing to put in the work or is not excited about putting in the work to get their new stuff or get their stuff more accurately reflecting their current skill set and their current aptitude for their craft, then I would question why they want to be in this industry. You know, it's a strange, be a hard question to answer. Okay. So I think I gotta run to a movie. I'm seeing La La Land with my girlfriend tonight, so I gotta run. But thank you very much for the submission, Clint. Let's just do a quick run through presentation, material selection, content, and distinction really fast, just to give a kind of a TLDR this whole thing, okay? So presentation-wise, we said get your site better. Just get it better overall, because your site is not helping you at all. Go on Wix or Squarespace or even WordPress and just get it to be a bit more attractive and a bit easier to navigate. Get rid of artists, fix your typos, that kind of thing, right? Real length is nice, but put a bookend on the front and back with your name and your site. Maybe an email address if it's okay with you. I don't know. The general idea is to make it as easy as possible to contact you, right? Make it as few clicks as possible beyond your reel to get in touch with you. then put titles on each thing you did. Say this is this thing. It's a film. It's a game. It's a redesign. I didn't do this, and then just have that for each clip and have that up the entire time. For material selection, we're going to talk about the fact that you had redesigns. It's fine as long as it's like new stuff and you're proud of it and it's good. It's going to be fine. Your current stuff shows a general interest in sound design. It doesn't really tell me what you want to be doing. The Blizzard thing being first and up front says to me you want to work in AAA. So if you don't, then I don't know, maybe design some indie stuff instead, like something more kind of smaller team produced rather than a massive team like Blizzard. But if you do want to work in AAA, then great, it's good reel. For good reel in terms of material selection, to be clear. Content quality, we talked about panning, we talked about depth and creating space, we talked about designing things off screen, adding more ambience, changing ambience with cuts, and having tighter marriage to what we're seeing on screen for that abstract piece, right? And then, and the last thing for that too, for the presentation, was to add the context for other things deeper in your site. So that if I want to know if you did Unity and you put those things in Unity yourself, that should be on that other page. So I can tell that right away, right? And okay, and the last thing is distinction. Well, to be absolutely frank, right now you're not standing out at all, man. It's a decent reel with a cool kind of, it's a cool spectrum of work, but it's all kind of, like all those pieces are lacking in various, like some in the same ways, but some in various ways. And I think that it's a great start. It's a very good foundation for a reel, and you are doing a lot of things right. But I think that there could be a lot more attention to detail in those things, and then you'll be in a way better spot as far as getting closer to standing out in a crowd. You know. All right. So again, thank you so much for submitting, Clint, and thank you. It's always a bit of a brutal honesty showcase here. So I appreciate you having the balls to get on stage and show your stuff. All right. So thank you, and thanks again, like people like Mark and Gord and Joey hanging out and giving your feedback too. I appreciate that a lot. And of course, Matt, if you want to drop that link of yours in the chat one more time, Matt does mentorship 101 by donation, and kind of the same thing we're talking about now, just more 101, and it might be a good thing to, to look into for anybody who is thinking about putting the reel on or would like real feedback, but perhaps not for a crowd. Might be a good idea. Or if you want to make some changes to your site and get some follow-ups, then Matt does that as well. Okay. And Mark said one more thing as well that I didn't see him. I want to read this as well before we go. So Mark says, yeah, no accusation here. Talking about accusing you of not wanting to put the work in now, of course, for more recent work. You just have to be doing new stuff to keep developing, whether it's paid or free time personal projects. You got to keep doing personal projects. You only get better when you're working on sound. Just keep working on stuff, yeah, all the time. All right. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out. I am going to peace out of here and play this again. And go. All right. Thanks so much. See you next week. We're going to be checking out, let's see here. Who are we checking out? We're checking out Lewis Whitworth and Craig Barnes. What's up? I'm looking forward to Craig's. Should be good. All right. Thanks a lot. See you later.